I have here the Canon RF mount 70-200mm f2.8 L IS USM Z lens, and it is beautiful. Let's see what it can do. So you may want to be thinking, well, don't Canon already have a 70-200 f2.8 RF mount? And yes, they do. So what's the key differences? Well, you'll notice that there is a Z on the end of the name of the lens, and that stands for Powerzoom. Now, it doesn't have Powerzoom internally in the lens. You need an adapter for it. Unfortunately, I don't have one today. But that Z really signifies that it is a hybrid lens, whereas the previous one was a lot more designed for stills than video use. One of the things that makes it really good for video is the aperture ring, because the aperture ring actually has 32 different notches to fine-tune the aperture, so you can tune it even within the traditional stops and control that you'd get on your camera. Another thing is the fact that this lens has a degree of parfocalness. It's not a true parfocal lens, but what it does have is technology inside the lens which digitally acts much like a parfocal lens would. Therefore, when you zoom in or out, it's counteracting that focus change and making sure that your focus remains in the exact same place. Now, because it's not a true parfocal lens, if you do crash zooms and stuff, it's probably not going to work. You're asking a lot of the lens internals if you're doing that. But if you're doing slower zoom ins or zoom outs, or you're utilizing that power zoom, it's going to function really well. So let me get into some of the tech spec of this lens. The way it has been designed means that it has one ED element, two super ED elements, and three aspherical elements, ensuring that you're getting really good image quality, really crisp images with minimal artifacts. We have a customizable control ring, an aperture ring, as I mentioned, and a manual focus ring, as you'd expect. When it comes to stabilization, you get 5.5 stops of IS, and then if you combine that with a compatible body, then you get up to 7.5 stops of stabilization, which is a huge amount, really useful for a longer lens like a 70-200. It means that if you're taking stills, then you can lower that shutter speed without having to worry about it too much. Or if you're doing video, then you can perhaps even shoot with this handheld. I've actually been shooting with this handheld an awful lot today, and you can see the video coming out of it looks really clean. Also, when it comes to the construction of the lens, there are 11 aperture blades, meaning you can get some really good quality looking bokeh from this optic. It's also compatible with both the 1.4x and the 2x teleconverters, meaning this lens can go all the way to 400mm for an insane amount of reach. Of course, you're going to lose a little bit of aperture when using those, but because it has that fast 2.8 constant aperture all the way through, for me that's not an issue, because you're still going to be able to let an awful lot of light into this optic. Unfortunately, it's the end of my time with this lovely lens, but there's a few more things I wanted to mention. Firstly, it has an internal zoom, which is wonderful. It means that if you're a photographer, you're holding it up to your eye, you can extend the barrel and it's not going to throw off the weight. Also, if you shoot video, if you wanted to put it on a tripod or even rig it up on a gimbal, it's not going to throw off that balance, which is huge. It has dual nano USM AF, and it also has optical focus breathing suppression. So if you like doing those focus tracks for video, you're going to maintain a constant frame, which is lovely. When it comes to price, it's about £1,000 more than the current 70-200 f2.8. So yes, that's quite a large increase, but for me personally, as I'm largely a video shooter, this is a significantly better lens. Just the internal zoom alone makes it a lot better, but I've been really impressed with the autofocus performance. I was using AF when I was filming the cyclist go around the track earlier. It locked onto him beautifully, and I was filming it at 200mm handheld, doing quick pans, and you can see the results. The footage speaks for itself. The weight is roughly 1,110 grams, so it's a really well balanced lens, perfect for shooting handheld. Now, unfortunately, that's all the time I've had with this lens, because it is just a first look. We're hoping to get this back and do more on it in the future. So make sure to stay up to date with the channel and hit subscribe to see that content when it comes out. Otherwise, I'm going to go take a couple more shots of this. See you in the next video.